Welcome to Happily Ever After, the podcast where we talk about life's big stories. From great sex to sexual trauma, breakups and breakdowns, icky secrets, and happy endings. It's the stuff that makes us human, and boy, do we cover it all. I'm your host, Hannah Harvey. I'm a writer and a parenting blogger at mumsdays.com. That's mumsdays.com. I would be very grateful if you could subscribe and leave a review because it means more people can find the podcast. And I also really love hearing from you. So please contact me through Instagram at mumsdays with all your stories of life and any thoughts you might have on the episode or even questions you want answering. You can find all the details from this episode in the show notes. Hello and welcome to Happily Ever After with me, Hannah, and I'm joined with Katie again.
Hello.
So Katie is my pal who helps me produce the podcasts.
That's it.
And every now and again, we have a little catch up.
We do. Hi, everybody. It's me again.
It's you. So the last time we talked, I was resisting house hunting, and I'd been having love advice from my dad.
Oh, yes.
Where I was like, Dad, it's all fine, everything's working, don't need to worry about it.
Yeah. That's changed a bit since then.
Guess what? Exactly 48 hours after that podcast, I realised it wasn't okay and we were going to have to split up. I mean, I wouldn't say I was like, right, that's it, I'm dumping him here and now. It was like, oh, there are a few things we need to talk about and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And what happened was we talked about them and then split up.
Yeah. Oh, I know, sad. So how are you doing?
Well, I was really sad for a week and then now I feel okay again.
Good.
Because in other news, I decided to start house hunting. So that's been exciting.
Yes, that is exciting.
And I think I've worked out what I want now, and it's like previously I was probably just wondering, trying to go for something as small as possible and not necessarily going for what I would really truly want. And now I've got a much better idea, so that's cool.
That is good, yeah, because this is going to be your forever home, really, isn't it?
I mean, that's the idea, isn't it?
So you want it to be right.
I mean, I say that now, it might, because what the realisation relationship terms was that I would like somebody to be in my life.
Yeah.
And I think what I worked out, you know, post being with the art teacher is that, what did I work out, Kate? It was along the lines of, there was an element of myself that I was ashamed of.
Yeah.
And I was keeping it hidden and trying to pretend that it didn't exist. And I think it's because my reference point prior, you know, to being married and having kids was always that I was just a single person.
Yeah.
And so I'd kind of reverted back to that and being like, oh, I'm with this guy, he doesn't want kids. Half of the time I will be that person.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe now you're ready to start your next chapter, and maybe that involves somebody being in your life, you know?
Yeah, like if I really truly thought about it, I felt like I wasn't much of a catch. But now that I am this, like, you know, I'm in my 40s, I've got 2 kids. It's not, you're not the same as you used to be, but there's so many wonderful things about my life that are all those things, like being a mother and being in my 40s is actually not a bad thing.
No, of course it's not.
And I think I'd gone into it thinking it was a bad thing.
Yeah. And now you're ready to share those parts of your life with somebody as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, the week after we broke up, I was physically exhausted. Like going to bed at 8 o'clock at night when I didn't have the kids, like knackered. And I think what's actually been going on is my nervous system was starting to break down.
Yeah.
Because I was going from, being single person and having that single life to then being a mum and having all those things to deal with all on my own. And it's actually really stressful.
Yeah, it's like putting two different masks on, isn't it? Like one way you're the parent and one way you've got this single life with like a boyfriend where like those two are completely different masks, and changing between the two must have been really stressful. I can imagine that.
Yeah, and I don't think I realised.
Yeah.
Like, it's only with hindsight that you can go, oh my God, what a roller coaster.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think in the end, my body was starting to be like, when I was talking about having panic attacks, I think it was all related to that. Because I didn't feel safe in the relationship because I knew he didn't want what I could offer. And I was keeping that hidden.
Yeah. Well, even from yourself as well.
Yeah.
You didn't even know that at the time, did you? So,
Like, it was probably obvious to everybody, even listening. Like, I've spoken to other people afterwards who've read my newsletter and listened to a podcast, and they're like, yeah, I kind of knew that was coming.
I don't know. It's all well and good for people to say that afterwards, isn't it? But, like, I mean, he said to me, like, I am happy with the way this relationship is. Like, I get the best of both worlds here. I get to have an amazing sort of like single life and go and do really nice things with him, and then I don't have to worry about him the rest of the time. And I took your word for that, that it sounds good actually, and I'm all for believing you. Like if you say that you're happy in something, then I'd like to think that you are, but like I do think so that if people are saying that they knew all along, then I think they're just probably saying it, but
yeah, I don't know.
No, you think people knew? Well, maybe. Not me. I didn't know.
I did not know. But I guess it's like, how long can you really keep up two very separate, different lives?
Well, exactly. And that whole, like, having a mask on is having your guard up. You can't let your guard down if you're pretending.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely don't regret any of it. We've had such a lovely time together, and I had deep feelings for him, and I didn't want to split up, but equally there was an element of relief.
Yeah.
And being like, I don't have to be just one bit of myself anymore. I can completely be all of the things. And it's helped me realise that the next person I want to be with will know exactly who I am and what I want, because I'm clear on it now. Like, I am a woman in my 40s with children. If you want to be part of my life, you're going to have to accept all those bits.
Yeah.
You can't just have fun times Hannah anymore.
Yeah. Because, like, you don't get fun times Hannah without having to have, like, all of the rest of the bits of you. I think, like, the art teacher had a really good deal going there for a minute.
He had such a good time.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
But also, like, fun time Hannah is with my kids as well.
Of course, yeah.
Like, we have fun at the beach and we have fun doing different things. Like, it's not just...
And the playful side of you, like, that's where the playful side is, isn't it? And I think that's probably a really big part of your personality that I think it would be nice for somebody to share with you as well.
Yes, I agree. So, yeah, it's a really interesting one. I think especially for, like, my whole blog and podcast and everything is about being a mum. And yet that bit of me just needed a bit of time to catch up.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I'd had a couple of relationships after, leaving my kid's dad, where I was like, I definitely don't want to be with somebody who wants to, come and be a part of all of my life. But that's just because I was still going through divorce, still working out what I wanted. Like, I wasn't fully ready.
I guess that's the most precious part of your life as well, isn't it? And maybe you weren't ready to share that with anybody else yet.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So we'll see how it goes now. But yes, considering what happens next, part of me was like, I'm going to be single until I find my house, and I will never
Sorry. I didn't mean to laugh straight away at
6
that.
months at least single, and
Well, that doesn't sound any fun, you know? But I know that you should have these periods of being single, really, shouldn't you?
I mean, that was the theory, but then Claire had said, watch Married at First Sight Australia. So obviously sat on my own on Saturday night like Billy No Mates, and I was like, I should say I did have an option to go out, but I'm still tired.
Yeah.
I still
It's
feel
alright
like
to
I'm
sit on your own
recovering.
watching Married at First Sight. That's an absolutely adequate activity.
Well, yeah, no, it's been so highly recommended, and I was like, I better had. Within 5 minutes, guess what I was doing?
What?
Trying to see how to apply to be on the UK version.
Ah, yes. That makes sense. Of course you were. Yeah, so
What do we think about this, Katie?
I think that, you know, although I would really love to see you go and do Married at First Sight, like, that would be great. I think we would love it. It would be really fun. Then, I think, like, reality TV shows are really brilliant and great, and I love them and love trash telly, which I think it's okay to put that in the trash telly box. But then the thing with this one is you have to marry them, so then you have to deal with that afterwards, even after the reality
Well,
show's over.
see, I've checked this with Claire because
Oh, right,
I was,
yes.
you know, I've messaged her every day since the podcast. My new bestie.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm going to apply. And she's like, do it. And I was like, but, you know, are you actually married? And she's like, no,
Really?
you're not actually married. And it's kind of a, yeah.
I feel like I've had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Yeah,
I
you're
thought-
not really strictly married because it's an experiment. So it's an experiment to see what it'd be like if you were to be.
But what about the wedding bit and everything? Do they not actually get married?
Apparently not. And if you want to say your vows at the end of the experiment, you can.
I didn't know that. Okay, then
Yeah.
you should definitely go on it. Okay, I'm
So I
all
don't think
for
you
this
need to
now.
worry about that. And the other thing I was thinking about was like, I assumed it was for young people, but actually some of these are older and some of them have got kids already.
And I think there's probably something behind the science that they use. Like, you know, they
Yeah.
spend quite a lot of time and money, I'm sure, on like researching people that would be good to be married to each other.
Well, yeah, that was the whole, like, first episodes is all about these two people that they're putting together and why they've matched them and why they suit each other. And I was like, oh, that'd be fun.
It might be quite fun. Might be very public. But I mean,
Yes. That's a guaranteed outcome.
Yeah.
But I just thought, in terms of experiments, and like, I love a bit of just doing something and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I just thought
Oh, have fun.
it would be so fun. But sadly, they are not accepting candidates at the moment.
Okay. Well, we'll start a petition then to get you on
get me
the
on,
show.
yeah.
Watch this space, everybody.
Woo! My mum and dad would literally kill me.
I'd be fine.
Will you talk to them?
Yeah. No. I'll take it back immediately. I don't think I can convince your parents that this is a good idea. I don't think I can convince myself that this is a good idea.
Oh, my dad's an academic.
So that'll make him understand, will it?
Yeah, I think he'd be like, for research purposes, could this work? And if you think about it, like I was speaking to a Sikh woman at a networking event this last week. So lovely. And we got chatting about, you know, why she ended up in the Northeast. She's from Derby. So we were like, oh, Midlands girls, having a chat about that.
Nice.
And she was like, yeah, it was an arranged marriage.
Yeah, I find that really fascinating.
And apparently she used a dating app, like her and her family use a dating app to find the right person. So there is an element of like, you know, she had a say in it, but at the end of the day, she was coming to marry someone she barely knew and live with their family.
I don't think the way that we do marriage is any more valid than the way that people who have arranged marriages do marriage. Like, I don't think there's any, like, you're not any more likely to like the person 10 years down the line. Like, we
Well,
changed too
quite.
much in that
Like,
time.
can you go off just a spark? Is a spark enough? Or can you develop love and understanding over time?
I also think there are people who are gonna be good in marriages and people that aren't. Like, I don't know whether it's anything necessarily to do with the two people together. Like, I think certain people can put up with a lot, which is what I think marriage is. Can I say that on your podcast about marriage?
Happily ever after is about putting up with shit.
A little bit, yeah. Isn't that what marriage is? Compromise and...
I think it depends what the shit is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Like, is it... Because that's the whole thing with me and the art teachers. Like, he had a side of him that I didn't really want in my life, and I had a side of me that he didn't want in his life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So those two things are not something we were willing to compromise on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas if it's like, oh, you didn't put the bin out again.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, that's
It is
just being a
different
bit
levels, yeah.
inconsiderate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I was like, I couldn't be with someone who doesn't put the bin out.
Yeah, maybe marriage isn't for you then. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right.
And it all comes down to how much you're willing to communicate. Like,
Yeah.
those are the things, aren't it? It's like, what... I guess if we come back to what Claire was saying a few weeks ago, going through the ethics, it's like, what exactly is it that do you need from the connection?
Yeah, exactly.
And it might be, I need somebody, like if you go like the 5 love languages, if ever you've done those, mine are physical touch, quality time, and the other top one was words of affirmation.
I can't remember what mine are, but it's the one where you get gifts. And
That's nice to know.
yeah, and the one where they do chores for you,
Service, acts
yeah,
of
acts of
service.
service, yeah.
So those are, like, it's helpful to know what those things are so that, for me, like, spending time with someone, communicating means so much to me, which is probably why I love doing this with you so much. Yeah. So I need to bring you a present, and you need
that
to
would be
just sit
great.
and chat to me about what's going on.
If you haven't done it yet, I really strongly recommend finding out what your love languages are. Actually,
So I love it. I absolutely.
I think
love it.
everybody's done it. But if you haven't, then
Which
we'll link
put
to it.
a link in the show notes. And I wonder if it changes over time and if it
Yeah.
depends on who you're with. Because obviously I did mine when I was with my ex, like my kid's dad.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much is actually what he needed versus what I needed. And I just,
interesting.
like, it became my love language because it was his. So it'd be interesting to retake it.
Well, I did it ages ago. I wonder if mine would be different. I bet they can change over time.
Because actually, like, I'm not really a hugger with my friends.
Yeah.
So I wonder if physical touch actually isn't up there. Or maybe it's different with...
I think it is different with romantic partners. Because
Interesting.
I'm not a hugger, but I still need like a cuddle on a night.
Aw.
Like I don't need a hug from my friends, but I do from my partner.
You don't want to sit and cuddling with me?
Well, we can cuddle as well if you like. But what I'm talking about is in a relationship.
Yes, okay. So I think that covers off that stuff. I'm trying to think
What are we
else
talking about?
I don't even know anymore. Oh. Love languages and what
Yeah.
you want from relationships.
Because we were talking about Married at First Sight.
Yes, of course. So yeah, so since that's closed, I decided I'd have a little poke around on Hinge
Great.
because I've never used that dating site.
Oh, really? New to Hinge.
New to Hinge. It's quieter than Tinder, I think.
It is quieter than Tinder. It's nicer than Tinder, though.
People are not immediately like, here's my WhatsApp.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I also wonder if it's because I've completely changed what I'm looking for now. Because I think in the past I was like, anybody and everyone from all ages and backgrounds, and don't care if you want kids or not, you all may contact me.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm like, don't be under 35. I'm being specific about height.
Are you being specific about height?
I am, because I'm a tall person.
Come on.
But I think you're allowed to, like, go for somebody that you fancy.
No, totally, yeah.
And
but
part of that for me is a height thing.
are you saying that you would never fancy somebody who is shorter than you? I'm willing to put this to the test. When you go on married at first sight, I'll make sure that they get somebody who's shorter than you. And
Please
see if it
don't.
goes.
You're going to write in and make sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Katie. No, I'll be like, they need to be kind of a giant.
Okay. Fine. But also, like, what happened to the thing about connection just now? About that being the important thing? Not their physical attributes. Come on, I think you're honing in on the wrong thing here.
Do you really think so?
Maybe not. I don't know. Because people have success stories when they're that specific, don't they?
Oh, I just don't know. And that's the problem with dating sites.
Yeah, but
Is you look at their height and go, no.
Well, I know exactly. Like, you don't need to do that. Like, but the fun is you get to experiment with it now. So, like, have that you want a certain height in your mind for a couple of weeks, see if it works out. If it doesn't, date somebody shorter than you, see what happens then.
That's terrible, isn't it? I feel really bad for saying that now.
No, I think there's nothing wrong with it. We're all vain, don't worry.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. So the other thing I've got into, as you well know now, is I've started getting in the sea.
Oh, yes, we've just been in the sea, everybody.
Just dragged Katie in the sea. So if you're wondering why we're like speaking like weirdos and a bit hyper.
I've just looked at myself on the video and it's not good.
You're wondering why Kayla's like this. She dipped her whole head in the sea.
I did, yeah. It was good. The waves really got me, didn't they?
It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in a long time. Like, I've not laughed as much as that at all for weeks. Watching you getting battered by waves. I'm like, move in a bit further where I was and you'll stop being like having massive waves break over your head.
I'm not very good at these things. It's like absolutely the kind of thing that would happen to me, and I wouldn't understand it. And yeah.
Oh, but how do you feel afterwards?
I feel great.
Having had your first. Well, I know you dipped before, but like.
Well, I haven't been in a while, and the reason for that is because I don't like the stones, and I don't like stuff touching my feet, and I'm funny about that. So when you said come in the sea, I was like, okay, I'll order some sea shoes. So they've come, and they're bright pink, and they say hot tuna on them, and I put them on, and I feel much better about going in the sea now. So
Yeah,
I loved it.
It was really good, wasn't it? We weren't in for long, but long enough for me. I did have my feet off the floor, and I was swimming. But yeah, my skin feels incredible now. And so this is my 10th day on the trot of doing it.
It's good.
I don't know why I'm doing it.
Good.
Like, well, I kind of do. Like, the first day that I did it, I went along with, there's a club here which started out as a sobriety group that go in the sea. And a few people, including yourself, have said, you should do that. And I was like, no fucking thanks. I don't want to go in the sea. But then I was like, I need some friends who are sober. Or I don't even know if it's that, but just some people that do stuff that isn't just
Drinking, yeah.
drinking, I guess.
Going out.
Just doing something different. Like, how are you going to meet different types of people unless you mix it up a bit?
I agree.
So I went along at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Didn't know anybody there. It was quite daunting.
I bet, yeah.
And I didn't want to get in the sea.
Oh.
I was like, why am I doing this? But yeah,
Well done you for going.
it was awesome. And then I met Lee straight afterwards, you know, from The Life She Built, we'll link to her episode because I've been chatting to her loads, like post-divorce about stuff, and
She's great.
she's always got good insights on this stuff. So I met her straight afterwards, and I was like, bloody hell, I feel amazing. Like, as soon as I saw her, she was like, whoa, you're bringing an energy with you. And I was like, yeah! I've just been in the sea. It was incredible. So, you know, it was immediately, I was like, I want to feel like that again.
Yeah. It does give you a certain buzz, definitely. I think it must just be the adrenaline, maybe. We should look at the science behind it.
Well, my friend on Instagram did look into this. Because she'd said to me, it's the same, more dopamines than a line of coke, and a line of coke will last 10 minutes, whereas sea dips last 2.5 hours.
Yes,
and then she was like, don't quote me on that. And then she messaged again and was like, actually, I've just checked and there is a scientific paper to back it up.
Oh, well, there you go. So what is it? What brain chemical is that?
I think it's dopamine.
Dopamine.
Isn't that the more chemical?
That is the more chemical, yeah.
So that's probably what's going on here. I've replaced the art teacher
Yes.
and the dopamine I was getting from him, because it was a roller coaster, and I do think now I can look at it, I'm like, oh, going out with him was the equivalent of having a massive night out on drugs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because then on Monday morning I'd be like, oh, withdrawal, felt quite sad, I would miss him. So that's what I think was going on there. I was using him as like pure escapism from
It's like
everything.
the high and then the hangover afterwards, isn't
Yeah,
it?
so like that proper roller coaster, whereas like I just don't want that anymore.
I know.
I really just want to feel much more level, and if sea dipping allows me to get off that roller coaster, that will be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a healthy way of getting your dopamine fix going in the sea, you know?
Much better. And I did notice this weekend, because often if I feel sad and low, I'll immediately be like, well, we know about the bagels.
We do know about the bagels.
What did I used to say?
What was it? I can't remember. I would go home and binge watch telly and smash a load of bagels.
I would. And then I'd be like, what else can I eat? And eat a tub of ice cream. Like, it's the classic, I mean, it's probably an eating disorder almost. Like,
Yeah, binge eating, yeah.
But yeah, you starve yourself during the week and then binge eat at the weekend, and it's all to do with the sugar and the chemicals and the trying to make yourself feel better. And I did notice this weekend I didn't go into that as much.
Interesting. Oh, I'm in a funny place with food at the minute. It'll be interesting to know if I feel like eating 1,000,000 bagels tonight.
You might not tonight, but maybe more if you do, because obviously by the weekend I'd done it for a full week.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, maybe it is helping me get that fix in a way that isn't so detrimental.
Because you can get that from yoga and exercise and things as well,
I
can't
certainly
you?
don't.
Oh.
You know, I do yoga and exercise.
And you don't get the...
Well, I definitely feel better for it, but it doesn't impact, like, if I'm feeling sad and lonely at the weekend, whether I'm going to reach for smashing the bagels.
Oh, that's such a shame, because it's definitely my crutch. Oh.
Is it?
Yeah. I feel like 100 times better when I've done some exercise or a yoga class.
Well, I mean, I definitely do, but it doesn't stop me necessarily wanting to then go, I'm lonely, I'm going to eat ice cream.
Yeah.
Whereas this weekend, because I was going in the sea and feeling better for it, I didn't do as much. I was reaching for much healthier things.
That's good.
So I'm going to keep doing it, because why not?
I wonder what day you'll break.
So a thing that really motivates me is the idea of a chain. So that's probably, this is how I stopped drinking, really. I was like, I'm going to stop drinking and see how it goes. And then I got to a point where I was like, oh, I've done 30 days, I don't want to break the chain. 5.5 years later.
That doesn't work for me. I really wish that worked. I wish I was motivated by the chain. You keep hold of that. Keep going in the sea. You need to keep going in the sea every day. Forever.
Forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
Amen. Have we got... Oh, do you know the other thing that I noticed is one of the days after I'd been in the sea, I was staring out the window and I was like, there's nothing in my head. And I was telling Claire, obviously, because I now text her all the time. And I was like, my head feels really weirdly empty. And I normally feel quite overwhelmed. And she was like, oh, did you give the overwhelm to the sea? And I was like, no.
But maybe you did.
But she was like, Mother Nature knows.
Ooh, I like that. Giving your overwhelm to the sea.
But I always forget to consciously do it.
Yeah.
But maybe you don't need to.
Yeah, maybe you don't need to.
But I'm like, oh, I love the thought of that. If you can give your problems to the sea.
It doesn't need any more, really. With global warming and things. But, yeah.
I think they take them anyway.
Okay, yeah.
The cleansing of the soul. I mean, you know, religions use water for many different
That's
reasons.
true. There is something magical about water.
Definitely
Especially
seeing that
open bodies.
massive, big body of water, and you've got no control over what it's
beautiful.
going to do. Beautiful.
It is. Puts things in perspective.
Yeah, I think that must be it. That feeling of getting in something so massive, just reminding yourself how insignificant you really are.
Exactly, I think it works.
So whatever you do really doesn't matter.
Just a little bee head. It's
a
okay.
little bee head. Well, I feel like are we done?
I think we've covered everything.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I can't. No, I just love sea swimming now. I'm into that with you. Sea shoes are here. Pleased to use them. Yeah. It's all good. I'm feeling pleased that you are feeling in a better space with your romantic life, and that you've made some decisions on where you're going to go with the house stuff as well. That's all good news.
Yeah, I definitely feel much, much better this week.
Good.
Which is interesting. So we'll have to report back and see if it's sea related or cycle related, or just because I'm still processing.
yeah, could be that.
Oh, well, have a lovely week, Katie, and thanks
You
for
too.
the chit chat.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time for another episode of Happily Ever After with me, Hannah Harvey. It would be wonderful if you could leave a review and subscribe. And of course, if you've got a friend who might enjoy this episode, then please do pass it on. For anything else, you can get in touch with me through either Instagram @mumsdays or through my website mumsdays.com.